What's up, athletes, and welcome to something called Asset Flip Shovelware. This is a bit of an older game that I've downloaded, so let's just click to start, I guess. Productivity. Individualism in the dead internet age. An anti-big tech asset flip shovelware manifesto.
Early software was individualistic. The art of programming from the garage or bedroom and distributing your personal work via floppy disks was a common pastime.
Oh my gosh. Is this meta?
Magazines featured type-in programs and were dedicated to sharing code that people could follow along with to build a game, using the code as a blueprint.
Oh my god. I've been working on this script for a while now. I was going to talk about, the state of indie gamings and different I guess eras of indie gaming, and this guy who made this is saying a lot of things that I kind of agree with.
When computers moved away from being something exclusive to large mainframes in basements of institutions and transformed into the personal computing era, this early focus on individualism, customization, and personal use are philosophies that set the groundwork for what we enjoy today.
I agree. Huh? What? Oh, what did I just do? Okay, let's get out of that. Close, please. Jesus Christ. Okay, clicking on something opened a link. I don't like that. Don't ever do that.
Even so, as threatened as that precarious creative independence in digital art always is, there's still echoes of that personal empowerment obvious in independent software development.
Okay. The notion that computers might empower individualism and so transform their social worlds did not simply grow up alongside shifts in computing technology, rather it had to be likened to the machines themselves. From counterculture to cyberculture, Stuart Brand, The Whole Earth Network, and the Rise of Digital Utopianism, Fred Turner.
I like thinking back to these early days when things seemed so much more low stakes, simpler, and even welcoming.
Dude, oh my gosh, that is very true. Okay, I'm not going to spoil too much of what this big video that I have for the state of indie gaming is, but a lot of... I think we can all agree that the YouTube videos that we grew up watching, like big YouTubers like Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, those guys, the games they played back then are at a very different quality standard than what we have now. But back then, all those games were seen as good, mostly, right? And that's because it was new. Everyone was learning how to do, how to do the stuff. So, and then there was a shift, I guess, around 2014 or whatever, and everything just became, everything indie game wise became so, I don't know what the word is, I guess, professional. It had to have this, it had to have that, it had to look like this, it had to be in this certain engine. It did lose a lot of individualism. And you see this in my videos I make whenever I play these games. I'll talk about how I'll say I've played this before, I've seen this before, I've seen these things before. And that's because the same kind of game is just being made over and over and over again, because everyone's just trying to copy each other to get noticed.
You didn't need a lot to make something on a computer. No licenses, no heavy payment towards storefronts, no signing her out with a complicated and expensive process, no paying for certificates to sign with, no reoccurring creative cloud fees. You just needed your computer.
he's right. Like, you know, when I was like, what, 9 years old, 10 years old, I got like, you know, Scratch, learned how to make stuff. I didn't have to pay anything. It was simple. I could make games from that, made games on my laptop, showed them off to my friends. People thought it was cool. Like, I mean, you can still do that, but like, the quality from then to now, I have a body. The quality from making something on Scratch then and then saying, oh, I made this in Scratch now it's not as impressive now because there's other programs out there that are better, but you have to pay for them.
Distribution was simple too. If you wanted to share what you made, you could post it online or share it on something small and physical. What you shared would run on someone's machine, without them having to jump through hoops to run it, because a modern system might flag your freeware as a security risk, because your program didn't come from an arbitrarily expensive storefront.
I don't know about that one. I've never really had that issue, I guess. A lot of, you know, indie games that I play, like, I found, like, old games. I find older games all the time, they run just fine, so I very rarely have to run into the issue of a game, of jumping through hoops to get a game to work. At least an indie game to work. I mean, I guess there are some games that I have to, like, troubleshoot for, but they're, like, old games.
When the internet gained popularity, games and software were distributed as downloads. That's where my early fascination with homebrew software grew from. I would spend hours collecting silly, strange digital artifacts that programmers made and shared. I still have some of them. They still run. I'm never letting them go.
Some years ago I started creating a silly drawing and template tool called the Electric Zine Maker for quickly assembling zines in small self-published literature.
Okay.
The Electric Zine Maker was meant to be a very simple black and white drawing tool that would output to the popular 8-page folded zine format, just for me and my friends. I couldn't imagine that an art tool, one that's so silly, chaotic, loud, colorful, where you even need to fight against it to make art because it's so anti-productivity, would ever take off. It did.
Okay. So,
the Electric Zine Maker grew into supporting many more bizarre and goofy tools, as well as a large variety of zine templates that you can output to. I often think about the comments that it reminds people of kid pics. People compare it fondly to software from the 90s or early 2000s. Software that was much more individualistic, that even allowed itself to be silly, weird, unusual, instead of the corporate template of what software is that we have today. I think it's worth saying that even Microsoft, at one point, had creative weird software, such as the Creative Writer Suite, released by Microsoft Kids.
I'm not familiar with that, but I'll take your word for it.
The Electric Zine Maker features a little potato assistant because it's part of my Potatoware suite of software. Potatoware is a creative tangent I fell into where each program I make features a potato, and is a parody of popular software, but made to be useless.
Okay, fair enough.
For example, there's the Electric File Monitor, which is a desktop virus scanner that will randomly accuse innocent files on your computer of being viruses, and put them into the virus prison, where you can manage your virus inmates, and make a fictional currency from the prison complex that you are now running on your machine.
Okay.
There is an Electric Love Potato desktop assistant, which is just a giant potato that lives on your screen and randomly sings to you, as well as generating random potato recipes.
Okay, I might actually get that. That sounds sick.
This tangent about Potatoware aside,
The electric sign maker set me on a journey of discovering an entire world of other software developers out there making equally as silly, weird, wild, or different individualistic tools. Present-day independent software is very creative. There's so much, but you'll hear very little about it. Larger tech companies, and the general Silicon Valley tech bro mentality, seem to suck the air out of the room.
Yeah, I'm gonna take your word for this. My video that I was gonna that I'm making, is more about indie games itself, not necessarily. I mean, they are software, but not like software programs. This guy seems to be more the program side, less the game side of things, which is fair enough. So I don't know much about what the Silicon Valley, the tech bro stuff is and isn't doing. So I'll take your word for it.
It's unfortunate that this mainstream determines so much popular perception of what software is when you have entire subcultures offering alternative views of what a program or a game is. Software is personal. It can be a unique relic from a time long ago, like the programs we work so hard to preserve and maintain a memory of, or it can be a current work of personal idealistic expression that goes against the grain of what larger tech monopolies have established as standards.
More or less true. I wouldn't necessarily say it's all personal, because I mean, with that logic, it still is personal, and this was about how it's not personal anymore. I'm not really sure how to finish that thought.
My journey with the electric sign maker taught me that softwares aren't just as much as games are art.
Fair enough. I'm not like huge. I don't have a whole lot of like old software programs from the early 2000s that I mess around with. I mean, I use Windows Movie Maker to edit my videos, but that's modern, so I don't think that counts. But I don't really have like old software. I have old games, but I don't have old software, so.
When people look back at things like KidPix, Kai's Power Guru, or any of these silly creative programs, it's more than just nostalgia. It's about a completely different paradigm to how software could have been.
Fair enough.
These old programs let us dream, what if? Behind the bold individualism is the obvious question: who shapes our standards? Who tells our story and whose story is remembered as the standard?
This is the source code for the original Microsoft 3D Movie Maker, released in 1995. This is not supported software. I'm not sure what that means. Nico, history of a software pet. Nico is a cat that runs around the screen chasing the mouse cursor. It has led many lives through the history of computers. I think I've heard of this before. Hiya, rat.
An individual's exploration of personal expression in the digital realm is at the heart of computers. Creative independence is at its core. Without everyone, this place would be boring, yet I'm fascinated by how much the individual is distilled into just numbers, engagement, or a source of content creation output for centralized platforms.
Well, he's calling me out there.
In the present era, where tech monoliths are chasing the AI dream, despite outrage from their user bases, I think it's an interesting time to look at what individualism even means.
Fair enough. Oh, okay. So this is like the old Windows 98 maze. Okay.
In today's internet, we are food for machines, digesting our thoughts, art, and behavior to spit back versions of ourselves as content, used in training models, or for advertisers. Participation on social media becomes a type of free content creation that is monetized by the platform holder.
He's not really wrong. No, I said you're not wrong. What is this? Okay. Woke flag in bio. Absolutely filthy kitchen. Okay. It's a trap. Spam.
I remember early discussions where people argued that they should receive royalties from social media for creating content for them. Most social media platforms reserve the right to license anything a user posts on the site royalty-free.
He's not wrong.
In the end, we are lost in the indefinite churn of the content machine. Today's internet is an abstract concept, controlled by large platforms, where it's not clear if and how individualism even has a place.
I kind of disagree with that take.
Even GeoCities and MySpace let their users customize their pages. Today's social media does not offer this. I think it's a fascinating transition from people first to the brand of the only entity being first.
Well, I never used MySpace, so correct me if I'm wrong, but how deep was the customization on MySpace? Wasn't it like colors, and like the layout of your pictures? I don't know. Maybe that's what he's talking about, how you can't even do that now, and that was what MySpace was. I don't know. I never used MySpace.
Early websites were just as individualistic as early software. There was a novelty to picking your very own domain name and hosting whatever you wanted on it. People had websites for their pets, joke websites, special interest websites. Websites became a form of artistic expression. It was also new and liberating. You could find your voice and exist on your own terms. You needed no one to do that. Just your own technical resolve.
Alright, I'll take his word for it. I mean, you can still do that technically. I don't know what it was like hosting a website back in the day. I'd imagine it's not too different from how it is now. I guess he's like, maybe that was a diss at like websites like GoDaddy or something.
Each website was a unique portal into someone's world. It was common. Places like GeoCities consolidated a lot of that into one place because they made the technical hurdle easier, but, in a way, as much as we like to sing praise to GeoCities, that consolidation is also a continued core problem when it comes to trusting larger entities that become a portal to some aspect of our online existence.
Fair enough. So, I guess I was wrong.
A budding online startup will convince us to join their platform, create a dependency on them, and either get bought by a larger company and eventually shut down, or exploit their user base.
Okay, maybe I wasn't wrong. So I guess he's technically not wrong, because, there are all sorts of websites where you can go to create your own website. But I mean, you can also do that with HTML, which is free, and you can just do that from your home computer. The only way to host the website is to have your computer act as the server, so I guess it's the trade-off.
Exploitation seems inevitable under the shadow of profit growth over all else. Recent scandals surrounding Adobe's use of AI and controversial changes to their terms of service are good examples. Pieces of internet history have been lost because of some decision arbitrarily made by people in the boardroom, or changes to terms of service. This is the same for any technology. Flash, for example. Digital art is a snake eating its own tail.
Wasn't Flash shut down just because it was too expensive to keep supporting? I'm pretty sure... Flash was shut down because the cost to keep supporting it on modern hardware was too expensive. I mean, I guess maybe he's saying websites shifted away from using Flash, but Flash was like outdated, like what, by 2015, 2014 maybe? I get what he's saying, but
When personal power is handed to a larger entity for the sake of convenience, we've time and time again lost historic parts of internet spaces, work, art, communities when that larger entity either shuts down, sells, or betrays the community relying on it.
Alright, again, he's not necessarily wrong, but like, let's not act like there weren't, small websites that individuals made back in the day that we can't access anymore because they themselves, the individuals, stopped hosting them.
What we lost is dismembered and reconstituted for the next rendition of tech capital. I remember when businesses were just starting to take the internet serious. Then the dot-com bubble burst, but that didn't stop this shift. I distinctly remember the feeling that business was taking over the internet, molding it to its own capitalist vision, use cases, preferences, changing how everyone else used it. It seems like it never stopped. Today's internet is an abstract concept for monopolies to exploit. The current AI gold rush is a perfect manifestation of mass consumerism. In this internet, nothing matters anymore. No reality. No accuracy of information. Not really art, but something else. It's all food to digest and regurgitate back to an abstract concept of consumers. It is the crowning jewel of what tech pro-capitalism is all about. Mass consumerism has consumed all meaning here.
Kinda, but not really. Let's not act like the internet before was, like a better place. It really wasn't. I started using the internet when, 2007? 2008? When I was way too young to be using the internet. Like, let's not act like that was a safer place then. It may have been more unique. I won't deny that. It may have been a lot more unique, but it was definitely not a safer, better place. I know he didn't say safe, but...
In many ways, AI critics still maintain a level of culpability because most criticism of AI does not criticize the consumerist system that this technology finds itself in. If it would not be AI, it would be something else. Because in this sense, technology has no more relevance beyond increasing profit to shareholders.
Again, there's some, I don't like defending AI, but let's not act like AI is the end-all of everything. AI is not like the worst thing ever made. Like AI art, it's bad, but there can be something good to come from it, right? Like AI voice actors, I'm a voice actor, I don't like it, but there could be something good that comes from it, right? I'm not saying that necessarily that is going to happen. I'm saying that something good could come from it. So I don't know. AI is new, so it's easy to hate, and I'm not a fan of it personally, but that doesn't mean that it's all doom and gloom.
The groundwork has long been laid where we exist online, according to the terms of another entity that is allowing us to exist on their platform. We create content and value for them, which the entity has a right to exploit. We've been reduced to scrapable information a long time ago. BonziBuddy was once criticized for being malware. Today's versions of Microsoft Windows far eclipse what malware of yesterday was. Consider controversies surrounding Microsoft's recall, an AI feature that screenshots everything. Are we frogs in the hot boiling water of this new digital age?
Wasn't BonziBuddy actually dangerous though? Didn't it actually have malware on it?
Like GeoCities or MySpace, fondly remembered, not for their own controversies, most of these places built their platform on offering convenient access to a level of personal expression and community that is naturally part of the internet and computers. People don't need them to have a website or stay connected to friends, but we've ended up with a dependency on these centralized spaces nonetheless.
I grew up learning how to host and maintain my own websites. It's by no means a difficult thing to do. I always thought it's a basic life skill you need to know in order to maintain your creative independence. Many after my generation of nerds have no idea that this is a thing you can do, or where to even start. Contrast this to the nerds before my time, that had their legendary beginning inventing software, or building beautiful computers in garages, like the humble beginnings of Apple. This current new generation no longer has access to this type of entry level.
I don't think that's true. You can argue that's just not true. Like, I know plenty of people who are building computers now. Like, building computers is easier than it's always been. I think I'm missing the point. No, I think he's missing. I think he's confused. Like, building a computer is easier than it's ever been. I can't do it. I'm too stupid to do that. But building a computer is super easy. There are a bajillion different like programs out there that you can learn to like make your own software programs. You don't even need to buy anything. You can just go to YouTube and find tutorials on how to make an art program or whatever.
The current generation needs trust fund money, seed money, angel investors, just to cover the basic costs of building and distributing software the proper established way. The bar is raised unreasonably high to have that type of old school independence.
Okay, he's kind of right here. A lot of people do ask for money for, the stuff they make, which is very fair. If you make something, I think you should have every right to ask people to pay money for them to have access to it. My last video, I went off on a tangent about how a game that I played was a paid-for thing and it wasn't very good. So I didn't mention that part where I think they have the right they should be allowed to do that. I kind of skipped over that part. So this is a follow-up to that. You do have I think they have like the right to do that, but I get what he's saying. People don't want to make stuff creatively for themselves anymore to have fun. They want to make it to try to make money off of it, which is a fair criticism to have.
The irony is that the bar for entry was raised by the very people who benefited from it being so low.
I often bemoan how hard it is to sign your own independently built and distributed software without it being flagged as a virus. There's reoccurring fees that often eclipse what I can financially afford. Is fun experimental freeware becoming a thing of the past?
No. No. Okay, maybe not software-wise. I don't know a lot about individual program software, creative software like this. So maybe I'm wrong on this, but like again, let's take the glasses off, the rose-tinted glasses off just a little bit. Like, in this age, you're talking about, there may have been more creative freedom, but let's be real. There were a lot of really bad programs you could get on your computers then. I get his frustration with how he has to pay to have his software not be flagged as a virus. Which is, again, fair enough, because that would be expensive, but I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Software is super easy to make nowadays, which means people could make it for very nefarious reasons, like make it as a scam to crypto mine.
Developers interested in distributing their art are expected to have their work funneled through very difficult to exist on digital storefronts that require annual fees. Apple's App Store is the best example of this. After which developers must navigate the heavy-handed control of these monopolies that dictate what type of work is or isn't allowed on these storefronts. Guidelines often exclude experimental work. It is hard to go against that grain.
Yeah, I get what he's saying, but there's kind of a reason for that. Because everyone has access to this stuff, it's very easy to make something malicious. Apple has all these restrictions on the App Store for a pretty good reason. If they didn't, there would be a lot of really bad scam apps and games and stuff on your phone that, like you think, like, mobile games and, like, certain apps now are bad. Like, if they didn't have these guidelines, it would be, like, 20 times worse.
So, in light of all this, I often wonder, when convenience becomes a hook for consolidation, who really benefits? Loss of tech literacy is a scary reality to consider, especially when you grew up making your own websites, software, games, digital art, and you see younger people not know what a file system is because they grew up with walled gardens, apps, and the cloud.
Do people not know what file systems are?
Who benefits from that ignorance, and how do we push back against that? How do we maintain tech literacy so that the next generation remembers that creating software is for them too?
Are people not still creating software? I mean, I admit, like I said, I don't look for, like, creative software all that often because I don't really need it. I use mainline stuff, but it's not. I don't know. Are people not still creating this stuff, like, for fun? Or were people even creating all that stuff for fun all the time back in the day? I don't know.
How do we make sure creating on computers stays accessible to everyone? Will it?
It is. It's very accessible. More accessible than it was before.
We are more than just consumers. We are participants too. Early software was individualistic.
It may have been so I was agreeing with him for most of it, but I think a lot of this was rose-tinted nostalgia. Or rose-tinted glasses kind of a look. I'm not saying he's wrong on everything. There's a lot of things that I do agree with, but I think it's coming more from a place of I don't know how to put what am I trying to say? I don't know if early software was necessarily less individualistic than it is now. I'm gonna go with, let's say, yes. Early software was more individualistic, but because it became mainstream, more people don't take advantage of their creative mindset to make their own unique things. They want to make the next thing that everyone's familiar with, so that it gets attention. Which is, like I keep saying, it's a fair enough thing to be against. My issue with indie gaming, with a lot of indie games now, is they all feel the same. They don't feel different from one another. Compared to back when, I first started, like, getting into indie gaming back in the early 2000s, where, these games, they felt like they were made with a lot of passion, love, and care, and compared to games now where, I'm not saying that love, passion, and care isn't there, but you can tell that they're trying to fit into a certain category to get noticed by, say, a YouTuber. So, in that regard, sure, indie games now aren't as unique as they were then, and I guess he's trying to say that for software. Software nowadays, like creative programs, I guess is potato thing, might not be as unique and specific to what someone's looking for as it was back then. Now it's probably all, hey, this is a super useful program. We'll put here. This is a super useful program. It's better than these other super useful programs. So, like I said, I get what he's trying to say. I do think, though, I think he's taking. I think he's living in the past a little too much, because, like I said, it is insanely easy nowadays to create stuff. It's super easy to learn how to code. It's super easy to make an app. It's super easy to make a website now. Maybe it wasn't as unique. Maybe it's not. Maybe that stuff isn't as unique now, because people aren't trying to be as unique now. But it's easier to do it now than it was back then. But I get where he's coming from, because I feel the same way with indie games. So I get what he was trying to say, and I will definitely use this video as, I guess, as like a source. Not this video, this game. I'll use this manifesto as kind of a source for my indie game video. I don't know when that'll come out. I'm still working on it, but yeah, I get what he's saying, and I think the message is kind of going a little over my head because I am making a YouTube video out of this. But yeah. Again, I get where he's coming from. I don't agree with everything. I think he's a little too blinded by nostalgia and coming from a bigger place of passion and kind of missing a little bit of nuance. But he's justified in his feelings.